On Friday, Donald Trump managed to somehow screw himself over even worse than he previously had by officially declaring that he has more than enough money in the bank to totally pay the bond for the New York fraud trial. Now, here is what Donald Trump said, and I'll tell you in a moment why this is such a massive problem for him, especially considering the fact that today is the deadline to pay. Trump said, quote, "Through hard work, talent, and luck, I currently have almost $500 million in cash, a substantial amount of which I intended to use in my campaign for president. The often overturned political hack judge on the rigged and corrupt AG case, where I have done nothing wrong, knew this, wanted to take it away from me, and that's where and why he came up with the shocking number, which, coupled with his crazy interest demand, is approximately $454 million. But you have that in cash, right? So if you have that in cash, the clock's ticking, it runs out today, you just pay it. But you're not going to do that because you probably don't have it. But let me go ahead and tell you why this is such a problem for Donald Trump. Now, last week, as we all know, on Monday of last week, his lawyers filed a motion with the court saying, hey, he doesn't have the money. We can't get any of these companies to bond him. We've tried 30 different companies. For the love of God, help us. But they're not going to get that help now because Donald Trump openly proclaimed, I have the money to pay it. So why would an appellate court give you an extension? Why would they reduce the amount when your client is out there bragging that he has the full amount of cash? He just torpedoed himself at a time when I am pretty sure the appellate court probably would have saved him to a degree. That's probably done with, maybe. Who knows at this point? Anything could happen, but this isn't going to help him because all Letitia James has to do is go into that court, file an emergency motion, which by the time you're reading this, she may have already done it and said, listen, he says he has the cash. Do not give him an extension. Do not give him a reduction. He has the money. He said so himself. Make him pay the full amount and let's move on with this. And here's another reason why this is a big problem for Donald Trump. Because obviously, if the bond is not paid today, then starting tomorrow morning, Letitia James can start the process of seizing his assets. And we've talked extensively about seizing Donald Trump's assets. We've talked about the properties, which ones could go. They've put out the fire sale values of each individual property. But here's the problem. We've talked about seizing assets in terms of property. But assets also includes cash. So if he actually does legitimately have that $500 million in the bank, Letitia James could just seize that instead, zero out his bank accounts. And let me tell you why that would be even funnier and worse for Donald Trump than losing his properties. Because you can't zero out your account balances when you're running businesses. Because what happens is that you still have to pay your operating expenses. So if Letitia James were to zero out Donald Trump's accounts by seizing his cash instead of his properties, suddenly he doesn't have the cash on hand to pay his employees. He can't pay to keep the lights on. He can't pay for maintenance. In other words, the business is shut down. So he could still lose his businesses and lose the cash if she seizes the cash instead of the businesses. So that's the funniest part of all of this, and none of it would even be possible if Trump wasn't stupid enough to go on Truth Social and brag that he had $500 million in cash. One of today's video sponsors is Blueland. Blueland is on a mission to eliminate single-use plastic by reinventing cleaning essentials to be better for you and the planet with the same powerful clean that you're used to. The idea is simple. They offer refillable cleaning products with a beautiful cohesive design that looks great on your counter. As we begin this new year, make a resolution to reduce your plastic waste, and Blueland makes great products that can help you do exactly that. One of my resolutions for this year is to maintain a much cleaner household, and with Blueland, I can accomplish that while also reducing the amount of harmful plastics that I'm using. An estimated 5 billion plastic hand soap and cleaning bottles are thrown away each year. And if that's not bad enough, most cleaning formulas are 90% water, which is heavy to ship, leading to excessive carbon emissions. Plus, those products are often filled with nasty ingredients like chlorine and ammonia. That's a lose-lose situation for both you and the planet. And did you know that we're eating and drinking roughly a credit card's worth of plastic each week? Yeah, that's right. The products that we're using every day are ultimately contaminating our water supply, generating hundreds of microplastics that we end up ingesting. So Blueland set out to do something about it. Eliminate the need for single-use plastic in the products we reach for the most. With Blueland cleaning products, you simply fill your reusable bottles with water, drop in the tablets, and wait for them to dissolve. You'll never have to grab bulky cleaning supplies on your grocery run. And the refills start at just $2.25. You can even set up a subscription or buy in bulk for additional savings. From cleaning sprays to hand soap, toilet bowl cleaner, and laundry tablets, all Blueland products are made with clean ingredients that you can feel good about. Blueland is trusted in over 1 million homes, including my own. And right now, Blueland has a special offer for our audience. You can get 15% off your first order by going to blueland.com/ROF. You won't want to miss this. Blueland.com/ROF for 15% off. That's blueland.com/ROF to get 15% off.